Good
Hello,
morning, teacher.
good morning. Viviana, how are you?
Pretty great, teacher, and you?
Very good, thank you. So I'm gonna write down your name to register your attendance. Also have Tanya, but Tanya just told me that she cannot participate because she's not feeling well. That's fine. I'm gonna share my screen right now, but before I do that, let me
Okay,
start
teacher.
recording the session. Okay, Viviana, before we start, I need you to mute your microphone, please. Thank you. And as we're doing the exercises, I'm gonna talk to you and require you to unmute yourself, but not right now. Perfect. Sharing my screen right now. And I got it. So today we have a CEPTO session. The way you look for the CEPTO when you want to have more information online, you don't write CEPTO. This is only how we call it in this university, CEPTO. When you want to look for more information online, you write CEPT without the O. Now, we're basically carrying on these lessons by having major emphasis on the 4 skills: writing, listening, speaking, and reading. Today, we're going to talk about writing, and it was this week's topic. The topic that we have for writing is going to be about transitional phrases. Transitional phrases are simply words that will allow you to keep on talking. And we're going to talk about that with more specificity. Okay, so in order to comprehend what are transitional phrases or transitional words, we need to have clear what are conjunctions. Conjunctions are ideas that are words that tie together some of our ideas. And we have coordinating conjunctions, which are the easiest ones. I'm sure you already use them very well. We have for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. A tip to remember this is with fanboys. So F for, A for N for nor, and so on. These are coordinating conjunctions. However, when we talk about transitional phrases, we want to make a transition between with something we say to something we also need to say. So for that, we talk about subordinating conjunctions. And subordinating conjunctions, what they do is that they introduce a dependent clause to add more information. A dependent clause most often is a clause that doesn't have a subject. We have however, either, similarly, and whereas. Right? Those are subordinating conjunctions. Let me see if I'm recording this session. Yeah. So those are subordinating conjunctions. Now, in order to understand that a little bit better, we're gonna read this together. Subordinating conjunction hand. Can you spot the subordinating conjunctions in the piece of text? Where have they been used in the sentences? Where have they been used in the sentences? So we have, as he walked closer, Cleo could see the crocodiles in the cave entrance. The beast was hurriedly eating the remains of its last unlucky victim, because it was ravenous. So you notice, I'm using as just to make a longer sentence, because to give an even longer sentence. Cleo examined its bright red eyes, huge smoking nostrils, and razor-sharp teeth, while the beast was occupied. Although Cleo was standing quite a distance away, the terrible stench of the gruesome beast was still making him feel nauseous. Cleo took a deep breath before he tiptoed bravely forward. It was time for battle. So what do we see here? We see that we have a story about Cleo having an encounter with a crocodile. However, he's making the story quite longer just by adding these conjunctions: as, because, while, although, and before. Conjunctions, in this case, are tying two ideas. Let's look at the because. So we have the beast was hurriedly eating the remains of its last unlucky victim. That's our first idea. Then I have it was ravenous. So I need to tie this it was ravenous to the beast was hurriedly eating the remains of its last unlucky victim. I use because to tie this one with this one. Let me write it. 1 and 2. Okay. Now, Cleo examined its bright red eyes, huge smoking nostrils, and razor-sharp teeth. This is our first idea again. Right here. 1. While the beast was occupied. So I have my second idea. Something was happening at the same time that the Cleo was examining the bright red eyes and the razor-sharp teeth of the beast. But the beast was occupied, so I need to inform about that to my reader. So that's the reason why I use a while. Now let's look at this one. Although, and I don't have another sentence. So although is just helping me carrying the conversation. So if I said Cleo was standing quite distance away, it doesn't sound natural. For this reason, I need to say that what I'm about to say corresponds to this, but in a contrastive form. So yeah, I'm still talking about this, but now I'm gonna say that Cleo was standing quite a distance away. Now let's look at the final one, before. Cleo took a deep breath. Okay, this is idea number 1. He tiptoed bravely forward. Idea number 2. As I know that he tiptoed bravely forward happened before Cleo took a deep breath, I need to join those ideas by using before. And that's all about conjunctions. Well, it turns out that conjunctions not only are a grammar rule to link ideas, but they also offer us some benefits. So let's discuss. What are the benefits of using subordinating conjunctions? What do you see of positive that's gonna allow us for us writers to keep on talking when we use conjunctions? And for this, I'd like to ask Viviana. Viviana, you can unmute your microphone and tell me.
Well, teacher, and sometimes I need to use conjunction, conjunctions, yes,
Yes.
for contrast uh, our ideas. Sí, contrast our ideas and explicate and in detail one one situation.
Explain very well. I like that you said those words. So you can make some contrast, you can explain. Very good. Thank you, Viviana. Now let's go with Dana. Darren, please unmute your microphone and tell me what are the benefits you notice about conjunctions. Mm-hmm.
This can be useful for oration and be better for that the person that is hearing us listen good to the message, or that person can just reach or hear what we are saying.
Thank you. Very, very good. So, in addition to what Viviana said, Dana also says that we can make better sentences. And I really like that he says that, because when we use conjunctions, and specifically subordinated conjunctions, we come up as a very good writer instead of someone that doesn't use them. It sounds like you're just beginning with learning English. Whereas when you start to use this, your text will result in a more cohesive form of meaning. Therefore, when you write with conjunctions and subordinating conjunctions, your sentences are gonna be better, which is what Dana says. Very good, Dana. Thank you. Well, let's continue. So you can use subordinating conjunctions to keep on talking. Another benefit. So we can make contrasts, we can make explanations, we can add more information, we can make better sentences, but also we can keep on talking. And for this, as we're talking about the CEPTO, remember this is a CEPTO lesson. When we do the writing exercise, people really want you to write as much as you can. And for this, you need to use a lot of subordinating conjunctions. You need to keep on talking. Talk as much as you can. It happens that with the CEPTO, originally the CEPTO evaluates reading and listening. However, the UNAT made a quite different approach to that exam, and they added speaking and they added writing. Those two are additions to the exam, and they are evaluated by a teacher of this university. They are gonna pass you a word text, and let me see if I can open it right here. CEPT. I did this test about 4 months ago. And well, I was asked to talk about something and to talk as much as I can. It's loading. Give me 1 second. Okay, this is the exercise that you're gonna get. You're gonna write down your name. The writing test, you have 40 minutes to complete it. Your response should be written in this file. Instructions, fill in your name ID. Okay. Task 1. Write a 5-paragraph essay to answer the question. Write about 300 to 500 words. Your test will be marked down if the text is extremely short. So there you got it. You need to make it long. You need to talk about things that weren't even considered for your exercise. And my exercise was, do you agree or disagree with the following statement? When people succeed, it is entirely because of hard work. Luck has nothing to do with success. Use specific reasons and examples to explain your positions. So this is what I wrote. I try to make very long paragraphs. and I use the 5-paragraph structure. I got the maximum score with this because not only I talk about success. Look, for example, here I talk about countries, politics, national politics, statistics, dreams. I gave specific examples, for example, in Europe, Denmark, Norway, Sweden. I talk about things that weren't even considered for that exercise, and that gave me a lot of points. I want you to do the same. I want you to have higher scores. For that reason, if you want to keep on talking and keep even what it wasn't considered, you need to use subordinating conjunctions. Now, the CEPT evaluates grammar, syntax, and analysis. Out of these three, the most important is analysis and how critic you are of the topic you're talking about. Because, let's be honest, you're gonna be evaluated by a human, and that human is a teacher from this university. You can pass down some grammar mistakes, some syntax mistakes. Teachers here don't look so much into those because they try to help you, and also, let's be honest, their knowledge is not as good as it could be. However, the analysis is where they get your idea. Is where they want you to talk about what is your opinion about something and how well you carry that idea. That is what I want you to put your most energy on, analysis. For that, we're going to talk about transitional phrases. We talk about subordinating conjunctions because transitional phrases have similar usages. Some of the usages, they help us contrast, explain, make better sentences, and keep on talking. It's very similar. We have transitional phrases or illustration. What is the illustration? Give an example. So we have, let me use my pointer. Thus, for example, for instance, namely, to illustrate, in other words, in particular, specifically, such as. So what can we see right here? We're not only talking about one word. We're talking about groups of words. And when we talk about groups of words, you can be as creative as you can. What is a very common group of words that we use to illustrate a transitional phrase? Most commonly, people use, for example, in this case, to exemplify. So, in regard to this, I don't want you to memorize all of this. You can be as original as you can, but try to carry your point. You're doing an illustration. You're trying to exemplify something. Do the words that you give the words that you need to that you think you require. We also have transitional phrases for contrast. So we have on the contrary, contrarily, notwithstanding, but, however, nevertheless, in spite of, in contrast, yet, on one hand, on the other hand, rather, or nor, conversely at the same time. While these may be true. Look at this one. While these may be true. This is when I said that you can be as original as you can. And that's going to give you more points in regards to the CEPT exam. Okay, give me 1 second. So let's practice. For this, I'm going to have a worksheet that I prepared for this encounter. And it's called Transitions number 2. No. I want to open PDF. Okay, we're gonna do some exercise together. Wait until it opens. Yeah, I got it. So, we're gonna have a text and we have some fill in the blanks type of exercise. Below each line, you're gonna have the type of transitional phrase that you need to use. For example, right here, I know that I have to use a first major idea. On the second, I need to make an example. This one, I need to make another example, second major idea, third major idea, and so on. So we're gonna do transitional phrases, and I want you guys to give me some examples. Be original, or use some of the transitional phrases that we just talked about. So let's start. Students can draw on a variety of sources to help them with writing assignments. Blank. They can draw on personal experiences. So first, we have a first major idea, and we need to use a transitional phrases between students can draw on a variety of sources to help them with writing assignments. Comma. They can draw on personal experiences. So,
Actually,
actually, let's see if that works. Let me go back. Students can draw on a variety of sources to help them writing assignments. Actually, they can draw on personal experiences. Yes, it works. Very good. However, when we're writing academically, we can use actually, but I don't advise you to do that because you're gonna come out as very informal. However, it works very good. Actually, thank you. Now let's do the second one, and for this I want Laura to help me. Laura, please unmute your microphone and help me. Let me go back. Yeah. They can draw on experiences. Example, for an assignment about communication skills, a writer might think about the way he or she communicates through conversations with others while at work or at home. So I need to use a transitional phrase that talks about an example.
I don't know, teacher. I don't know what word will be there.
Imagine you need to give an example. So would you use, for example,
Yeah.
or
Like?
what other phrases would you use?
Like?
Like. Very good.
Okay.
Like. So let's look at how it's going. Students can draw on a variety of sources to help them with writing assignments. Actually, they can draw on personal experience. Like, for an assignment about communication. Okay. Well, like give us an example, but in this case it doesn't sound as good. So let's try another one. Viviana, can you help me?
Additional example, maybe in a in, in another hand, no, another hand in additional example, additional, ahí podría. Although,
No, although is for contrast. You need to give an example. So make a transitional phrase.
additional,
Let's go back to the
additional.
transitional phrases that we have to illustrate. All right. Look, we can use any of these ones. Thus, for example, for instance, namely, to illustrate, in other words, in particular.
In other words,
Let's look at it.
in other words.
Well, it doesn't work. Now, don't worry about that. You're very close because, yeah, we have to illustrate. How about Dainer? Dainer, do you know which word should we use? Which transitional phrase should we use? Dainer, I need you to unmute your microphone.
Can you show me please the list of the phrases that we can say?
Yeah, here it is. Let's go back.
Go back, please.
Mhm.
For example, can help.
Start with, for example. Okay, students can actually draw, they can draw on personal experience. For example, for an assignment about communication skills, that goes very, very well. For example, for an assignment about communication skills, a writer might think about the way he or she communicates through conversations with others while at work or at home. Very good, Dainer. You got it. Now, we need another example. And here I have a writer might look at the ways he or she communicates with others electronically via email or texting or Facebook. If we use, for example, let's look at it, for example. With, for example. For example, a writer might look at ways he or she communicates with others. Now, as I already used, for example, I don't want to sound repetitive. I need to change that. So it's advisable to not use for example, although you know that it's going to work. Let's go back to the examples. We have, for instance, namely, to illustrate, in other words, in particular, specifically, and such as. So, Laura, which one would you use that is similar to for example, but not to repeat it?
I I I can choose the word specifically for this
Specifically.
phrase.
Let's look at it.
Specific right like like right to mind.
Specifically. Specifically, a writer might look at the ways he or she communicates with others electronically via email or texting. Very good. It sounds really good. And it's given an example. Thank you. And now let's go with before we go with Viviana, let me read it for you. Students might we can also use, for example, students might, for example, find examples of reading communication skills by looking. However, I don't want to sound repetitive, so I need to use something that is very close to, for example. Viviana, which words would you use? You can invent new words if you want.
Student might uh, hmm. Can you back to the sample, teacher? Back.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, such as, in this case,
Such as, let me see. Students might such as find, no. It has to be very similar to for example. I'll give you another
For
try.
instance,
For instance. Sounds very good.
for encontrar, find example rating.
For instance.
Pero suena raro.
Look, students might, for instance, find examples of reading communication skills by looking at skills they've learned for previous writing assignment. It sounds very good. For instance, it sounds exactly as, for example. So very good, Viviana. You got it. Now, second major idea. We're adding more information. Now we don't have to make an example. We need to add more information, introduce more information. We have students, writers can look for ideas from other people's experiences. So, Dainer, how would you start a second major idea?
In this case,
Yes. Right here. Let me mute one microphone because I hear a beep. And I'll mute your microphone, Viviana. Thank you. All right. Got it. Okay, Dainer, go ahead.
sorry, I forget what I was saying. Um,
How would you start a sentence such as this one?
in this case,
In this case, very good. Let's see.
in this case,
In this case, students writers can look for ideas from other people's experiences. Very good. Look, and also, to those who are listening to me, as you've been able to note, you don't have to be extremely precise. You just need to make it sound good, and don't be repetitive with for example. If I use for example, I don't have to use that. I need to say the same thing with some change of wording. Right here, the inner started with in this case, and it's very good. In this case, students writers can look for ideas from other people's experiences. Now, we have to give another example. So Laura, please help me with this example. How would you start that sentence?
Okay, I think that maybe two two words. I think the first is to the in other words
In other words, let me see.
or and
No, when we give an example and
yeah.
doesn't work.
Okay.
So, students writers can look for ideas from other people's experiences. In other words, writers can interview other students or even family members. Very good. It works. Now, we need to start a sentence right here. It's asking us for an additional example. A writer may have heard others talk about this topic, maybe in class. Viviana, which word would you use?
In additional example,
Mm-hmm.
maybe as well or does.
That's as well. Let me see. As well sounds better. Well, as well. A writer may have heard of others talk about this topic, maybe in class. Very good as well. Is good. If we were to use thus is not an exemplary transition. Thus is gonna give me more information about the second clause. For example, if I said thus, a writer may have heard of others talk about this topic. So I'm giving a reason about it. And I don't have to give a reason. I need to give an example. Very good, Viviana. Another, okay, this one is already done. So another source will be television shows on the topic of communication. Now, I need to start a new idea. So for that, I'm using, what's it called? No, it is in translation. So in this case, we need to be original. So how would you start that sentence? This one right here. It says, college writers may find that they need to do some research to complete an assignment. Laura, how would you start that?
I think.
Would you give some contrast, some examples?
I think can be such as, but I am confused because you said the word is the first, so maybe can be different.
So one tip, we don't have to use an example because look at the sentence. It says, college writers may find that they need to use some research to complete an assignment. I'm not giving an example. I'm just telling that college writers need to find that to complete an assignment. So how would you introduce your reader to that phrase?
Everyone?
Everyone college writers? No. Everyone is not a transitional phrase. It's a noun.
Okay. So I don't know, teacher.
Okay,
I'm
don't
sorry.
worry. That's fine. How about Daner? Daner, do you know?
On my college,
On my college, fathers may find. Very good. Yeah, you're being very original. On my college. Was not expecting that. On my college, college writers may find that they need to do some research to complete an assignment. That's good. Thank you, Daner. Now, another example. Lots of experts have written articles or books on the topic of communication skills. Viviana, help me with this one. How would you give that example?
Um, mm, such as in this sentence,
Such
such
as
as
lots experts. Well, such as acts as if it was a subject, and we already have a subject. Lots of
uh,
experts.
in addition, look what experts. In addition,
That one sounds good. Let's see. Addition. In addition, lots of experts have written articles or books on the topic of communication skills. That sounds very good. Very well, Viviana. Another example. And we're almost over. So this one also has the subject, a search of communication skills on the internet. Can I use, for example, a search of communication skills? I know that I can use, for example. However, I don't want to be repetitive. Laura, which one would you use to give an example about a search of communication skills? What was that?
Namely?
Can you write it down? Because I don't feel like I don't
Okay.
know that word.
This?
Let me look. Namely. Ah, yeah. That's very good. Let's look at it. Namely.
I'm sorry. What pronouns? There is the four pronouns.
You said it right. I just didn't get it. Namely. But
Okay.
you said it right the first time. Namely, a search of communication skills. On the internet might provide useful information. Moreover, reference of librarians can help students find research materials, special collection, or debates. College writers need to be able to draw on a combination of personal experience, observation of others, and research materials to develop their assignments. So let's finish with you, Laura. How would you finish this sentence? Namely was very good.
I don't know, teacher. but keep on with your explain, please, about this phrase, this verse.
Okay, so what's the usage of this sentence? I know that I'm closing my text, so as I'm closing, maybe I can finish with finally, in conclusion,
uh,
and so
the
on.
last,
The last, you said?
yeah, can be.
Let's look at it. I'm gonna make you read it, and you tell me. The last. College writers need to be able to draw on a combination. Does that sound good for you? The
Um,
last.
if I want to finish the topic, I am I said that is good. The word to
Okay.
finish the topic.
You got one right. You got two words. There's one right. I'm gonna delete the one that is incorrect. Now, I remain with last. However, that I need to make some changes to that last. What change would you make to make it better? To that last.
For for last.
Okay. I'm gonna tell you. And we simply add lastly. Lastly, college writers need to be able to draw on a combination of personal experience, observations of others, and research materials to develop their written assignments. Very good. You got it, Laura. Thank you. Last was a very good example right there. Let's look at the essay and see how well does it read. Students can draw on a variety of sources to help them with reading assignments. Actually, they can draw on personal experience. For example, for an assignment about communication skills, a writer might think about the way he or she communicates through conversations with others while at work at home. Specifically, a writer might look at ways he or she communicates with others, electronically via email or texting or Facebook. Students might, for instance, find examples of reading communication skills by looking at skills they've learned for previous assignments. In this case, students, writers can look for ideas from other people's experience. In other words, writers can interview other students or even family members. As well, um, as well, this one doesn't sound good, so good. As well, a writer may have heard about talk about this topic maybe in class. Writer can interview other students or even family. Here I will suggest using a contrast transitional phrase of contrast. Let me delete this. We can write on the other hand. On the other hand, oh, that looks so bad. On the other hand. On the other hand, a writer may have heard others talk about this topic, maybe in class. That sounds better. Another source will be television shows on the
Teacher,
topic.
what means in the other hand?
En la otra mano, en el otro lado, and on the opposite side, it means that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So another source will be television shows on the topic of communications. On my college writers may find that they need to do some research to complete an assignment. In addition, lots of experts have written articles or books on the topic of communication skills, namely a search of communication skills. On the other, internet might provide useful information. Moreover, a reference librarians can help students find research materials in specific collections or databases. Lastly, college writers need to be able to draw on a combination of personal experience, observation of others, and research materials to develop their written assignments. Okay, Viviana, what do you think about this essay? Is it good? Is it a bad essay? What is your opinion?
For me, this exercise is very useful. Useful, yes, because I need to practice with my English, and I need to practice with this topic.
Okay,
It's
thank
very
you.
was very interesting for me.
And Laura, if you were an evaluator and you need to evaluate this document from 0 to 10, how much would you give to this text?
Well, I am agree with part.
Say that again?
Yeah, yeah.
Can you say that again?
Can you listen me?
Yes, I'm listening.
Okay. So I am agree with my part,
Mm-hmm.
and I consider that this paragraph was important because in my case or case of my partners, we need use other words for for I can express better, and I don't say this part in English. No siempre diciendo la misma palabra o lo mismo, ¿ya?
Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. But I wasn't asking about the exercise itself. I was asking, imagine if you were a teacher and one of your students wrote this for you. Would you think this is a good essay or a bad essay?
This is a good
And why is it good for you?
because you can learn spread. You can learn talk. Uh, I don't know say. I don't know say.
I get it.
Mm,
Mm-hmm. Okay, no, not a problem. I got your idea. Thank you, Laura. So the reason we're doing this, okay, is because you're gonna do the same when you present your CEPTO. You want to present a very good text, and I want you to recognize what makes a good text. Well, a good text makes use of lots of transitional words, such as the ones you use does, for example, for instance, and as Lara said, don't repeat those. When you do the CEPTO test, the writing exercise, you need to use those, because I was asking you, what do you think was this text? How would you qualify that? Well, most of you said it's a very good text. Well, the evaluator that you're gonna get is gonna think the same if you use lots of transitional words. So my invitation, start using transitional words when you're gonna finish the text. Said lastly, in conclusion, finally. So you're gonna help your reader know what you're talking about. Now, we're about to finish this lesson, and I want you to tell me if you have questions about this before we finish.
Teacher, can we see for the last time the verbs or the phrases for right?
I'm gonna give you something better, Dana, and also Laura and Viviana. I'm gonna give you a link where you can find lots of transitional phrases. So, give me just 1 second to see if I remember
Okay,
the
thank
link.
you.
I personally use this always when I have to write an essay, because it's very hard to remember all the transitional phrases that are millions. And so when we're starting to write, it's handy to have a website that help us write transitional phrases. I just leave the link in the chat. You got it?
Yes.
Yes, thank you, teacher.
Yes,
So
teacher.
so take the time, open it, review it. You can really make some use of that. And that's it for today. I appreciate your attendance, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.